When considering what will make a good fabric for your stack and wax projects, the very first thing you need to think about is how many repeats you're going to need from your fabric. So on this hexagon here, we're actually making it from 6 triangles. So what we're going to need to do is make sure that our fabric contains 6 repeats. And the size of the triangle, when it's cut, i.e. not finished in the block, but cut, is a 6-inch triangle. So it's 6 inches from top to bottom. So we need to make sure that our fabric works with a 6-inch repeat. So to choose your fabric, go to your fabric shop and unravel a length of fabric, and then look at how long the repeat on the fabric is. So on this fabric here in front of me, we've got this large flower emblem up here, which is repeated again down here. And so we would measure the distance from the top of the emblem there to the top of the emblem there, and just make sure that you're always referencing the same point on the pattern. And if I do that, we can see that we've got a 12-inch repeat. So that means that every 12 inches I can cut the fabric and I'll get another cut that is exactly the same. And as we know from looking a moment ago, we're going to need a set of 6 triangles, 6 copies of the same triangle in order to make our hexagon. So if I just move this fabric as if I had cut it approximately. So imagine that was my cut. Then what that would mean is I would get one set of triangles from up that row, and then I would get another set of triangles from down here. So from one cut, I'm going to get 2 sets of triangles, and for each set of triangles, I'm going to need 6 copies of them. So this would be my first copy, and then I would get the second copy from subsequent cuts. So from this one cut of fabric, I'm now going to get a set of triangles up here, and I'll just lay these on so you can see how it would be cut. Like so. And then I would get another set of triangles down here. So I would need 6 sets of repeat in order to be able to get 6 copies of each of these triangles, but each cut is going to give me 2 whole rows of triangles. And from this row, I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one that's on the hearth, so that's 6, and then on the return, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, because we've got obviously the back of the fabric as well. And for example, in this pattern here, for this quilt, we need 9 sets of triangles in order to make this quilt. And we know from this that we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the return, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we should have more than enough triangles from one cut. So that's working with a 12-inch pattern repeat and a 6-inch triangle. If I was buying this fabric, therefore, to make my quilt, I would need to get 6 repeats of the 12 inches, rather than, if the repeat was 6 inches, just getting 6 repeats of a 6-inch. So with this fabric, when I buy enough to get 6 repeats, I'm going to be buying 6 lots of 12 inches, and I'm going to end up with some spare fabric because in each repeat I only need half of the strip, because I only need 6 inches out of the 12-inch repeat. This fabric here has a repeat from the bottom of that flower to the bottom of this flower of approximately 6 inches. So if I was buying this fabric, in order to get my repeats, I would only have to buy 6 lots of 6 inches, because I get all of my fabric out of the one repeat, all of my cuts out of one repeat, and the repeat is a lot less, it's 6 inches. So on this fabric I would need 6 times 6 inches, and on this fabric I would need 6 times 12 inches. Let's look at a different fabric and a different pattern. So on this fabric we have a large flower motif again, and from the top of one flower to the top of the next flower is 6 inches. So very similar to the orange and blue fabric we just saw, you would only need to buy 6 times a 6-inch repeat of this fabric in order to be able to get your 6 copies of each triangle. This fabric is slightly different. So this fabric has a pattern going down it. The selvage is here at the left. And on this fabric, the repeat from the top of one flower to the top of the next flower is approximately 2.5 inches. So on this fabric, in order to get a 6-inch triangle, we would need to get 3 sets of repeat. So we'd need to get a 7.5-inch cut of fabric, because you have to cut the fabric on whole repeats. So on this one, you would need to make sure that you were getting a 7.5-inch strip, which is a 3 of the repeats at 2.5 inch, and then you would need to multiply that by 6. So you would be buying 6 times a 7.5-inch cut. That's because the repeat is smaller than we need, so we need multiples of the repeat per triangle. Then lastly, this fabric. So this fabric has a really busy print, and I'm just folding it up to try and capture as much of it on screen as possible. And on this one, I'm going to highlight this red flower over here, which doesn't repeat until all the way down here. So I'm going to get my longer ruler and we'll measure that one. And the repeat on that fabric is 15.5 inches. So what that means on this fabric is that you're going to get one triangle there, one triangle there, and then you're going to be left with this big bit at the bottom which is spare. So using a 12-inch fabric, you would get 2 runs of triangles out and no waste, but with a fabric that has got a 15.5-inch repeat, you could get 2 runs of triangles, but you're still going to end up with some spare fabric at the bottom that's effectively waste, if you like. But what you might do in this situation is consider using the fabric that you've got left over in the repeat to create your border, for example. So if I think about this pattern here, there's a border strip going all the way around the quilt. Well, on this fabric it might be, because you have to buy 6 lots of a 15.5-inch repeat, that you get all of your triangles out of the first 6 inches, and then you're left with a strip at the bottom which is approximately 9 inches, say, that you could cut your border from. But the most important thing when buying for stack and whack is that you know how many copies of the same shape you need, which tells you how many repeats of the fabric that you need. And you need to make sure that you buy exact multiples of repeat to ensure that you can get your complete cuts. So for example, where the repeat is bigger than the shape, that's fine, but where the repeat is smaller than the shape, as in this fabric here with the 2.5-inch repeat, we need 3 repeats just to get the size of triangle that we need. And then having worked that out, we then know we need to multiply that by 6. I hope this has helped you understand the principles of choosing fabric for your stack and whack.